Now I want to start working on the posts, and I want to leverage Laravel as an API to be able to do that. So let me show you what I mean. We're basically going to go ahead and create a new model. So we'll say, make sure that you're in the API folder for this. So it'll be PHP artisan, make model, and then we're going to call it post. And then we're going to add a migration and a factory. Now, if we go over to our API folder, we'll see that we have our new migration and we have our factory, as well as our model, app, models, post model. So let's go ahead and start with the migration. So the only things I really want to do in here are add table, foreign ID, and then we are going to add a field for user ID, and that's going to be linked to the users table. We're going to add constrained, and then we're also going to add on delete, cascade. Then I want to add a table for string, and this will be title. Copy paste, and then we'll have the body field, but we are going to use text instead of string so that we can have more characters to it. Okay, and that's it for the migration. Now let's head over to the model. So the relationships that we are going to have, it's going to be set up in such a way so that the user has many posts and the post belongs to a user. So in here, we'll just do belongs to, and this sets us up really nice. So it's going to be user, return user class, and we don't need this foreign key and this other key, but we do need to import this up here so that we have that relationship. Now, we also need to set up the fillable fields. So under has factory, we can say protected, fillable. Now, again, it's a constant debate about fillable and guarded. It's completely up to you. Just whatever you do, make sure that you are protecting the fields in your controllers for whatever method you decide to use. Me personally, I will use the fillable method. So now that the migration's done and the post model's done, we also need to make some changes to the user model. Now I've gone ahead and commented out the must verify email just so that we could do it more easily without having to verify every time. But if we head down to the bottom, we can now do, let's say, has many, and that'll set us up for that. Not going to be comments, it's going to be posts. Make sure to import this. And then this will be post. And we can get rid of these local and foreign keys. Okay, so now we can go ahead and close the user model. So in here, we just need two fields. One is going to be title. And we'll say this, Baker, word, then copy paste. And for body, well, this needs to be comma. There's this. So for body, we'll say this Faker paragraph, and then we'll just have 3. So that'll just be the number of sentences in the paragraphs that we have. Our user factories are already set up, so we don't need to make any changes in here. We'll just use the default. But now we can go to close that, to the Cedar file. So now since we already have our relationship set up, we should just be able to uncomment this, and we'll just leave it at 10, and then we'll also have as posts as a relationship, and then for each user we will give them 5 posts. Now let me open this up a bit. Let's go ahead and run PHP artisan migrate fresh because we already have a database set up, and we need to roll it back and then re-migrate it. And then here we can also add seed, and that should work. database seeding completed successfully, and we have been brought back. So let's drop this down real quick. Let's go ahead, refresh our database, and check in here. Okay, so now we have posts. And as you can see, they each have a user ID. So if we hover over, we can see that there's a clickable link to those users. We have the title for the post, we have the body, and then the created at and updated at. Fantastic. So as I said in the beginning, we will be leveraging Laravel's API built-in functionality. And one of those things, if we open this up a bit and we run PHP artisan, one of the commands that we have in here, it's called make resource, and that creates a new resource for us. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's go back down to the bottom, and we're going to say PHP artisan make resource, and we're going to call it post resource. So now if we go up to our controller, if we go to our HTTP resources, it's created a whole new folder for us called resources. Let me open this up a bit. And then here's our new resource that we just created. Now I'll show you what it is we're going to use this for, but just understand that it's basically returning whatever the model is. That's what the parent is. It's returning whatever comes into that request. It just allows us to customize different things, so we can change the created at date, the updated date. We can customize things right here instead of in the model. And then we can use this as a resource in our controller. So that brings us to the next point where we need to create a new controller. So we'll say PHP artisan make controller, and I want to put it in the controllers. Instead of the auth folder, I want to put it in a user controller. So it'll say PHP artisan make controller, and then we'll say user post controller, and we are going to add a flag of API, which is going to give us only the functions that we would use for APIs are the only functions that this will give us. So that's what this API flag is for. And then we want to also add the model, which will be post. Okay, so let's run that and make sure we didn't break anything by trying all that. Okay, so controller created. Open that up. As you can see, it brought in our post for us. And so now we only have index, store, show, update, and destroy. So the only ones that it doesn't really show us is the ones that would be displaying pages. So the create function doesn't show up and the edit functions don't show up. And those are normally the pages. Those are the functions that display pages. So we don't have those. We only have these 5. Fantastic. So before we get too deep in the weeds with the controller, let's close this and close this. We are going to go ahead and make the page for the posts. Client, pages, and in this pages folder, we're going to have another folder, and we're going to call it posts. And in that post, we are going to create a file that we call index view. Okay, so HTML. Here we'll just display posts. And then we'll add our script tags. And then here we'll just go ahead and say, we'll say data equals, this should be a comma. We'll say posts, and then we'll make it an array. Put a comma here so that I don't forget later. So now under here, we can have a method section. And our first method will be get posts, because we're going to make a call to the backend. And this should be async. And down here, we'll do a try catch. We'll say this, Axios get API. We'll make the route in a bit. API posts. And this should be await. Let me move this back over to make sure we're not getting any errors. Okay, and then we'll come down here, we'll say then, and we'll say response equals this posts equals response data. And for the error, we'll just console log out the error. And to get this to pull up, every time we land on the page, we'll make a mounted lifecycle hook. And it will say this get posts. Now that that's set up, let's go ahead and create the route. So API routes. And then we'll come into the section that has the grouping for just the auth sanctum stuff, and we'll put it under here. We'll say route get posts. We'll be using the post controller. Class index. And that's that. So let's make sure that this was imported up top, and it was right here. Fantastic. So now let's go and kind of play around with that controller. So in here, we can now go ahead and create a variable. We'll call it posts, and then we'll say equals post get. And then we will return, but we're not going to return just posts. We just created a resource that is grabbing all of the information from the model, the post model. In here, instead of just saying return post, we'll say return post resource, and then we're going to make it a collection, and then we're going to return posts. Okay, and that was imported up top for us. So now let's go over to the browser, and we'll go to the route posts. Okay, we need to change the layout for this as well. But in the meantime, you can see we have a little array about to open up. And now, even though it's dark, you can see we have all of our posts in here, all of the information that we could possibly need. So in order to be able to see it, let's go ahead and deal with this layout. So we'll go back to the index, and we'll add layout is, I think we call it app layout. Yeah, app layout. App layout. And let's make sure that we're getting that in first. And now you can see it a lot better. So let's make this in a little bit more of a readable format. Go back to the text editor. And now I'm just going to go ahead and paste in a whole bunch of code just so that we have something to work with. So from top to bottom, we have a div with a main section. We have a link to the create post page, and I just commented out the errors for now so that we can work on them in a bit. Then I'm looping over the posts, and we are displaying the title. We will be displaying the username, post created at, post body, and then we have a link to our edit page so we can edit our posts, and a button and a form for us to be able to delete posts. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so now we have something to work with. We have our button, we've got our posts, we have the date, and these are the titles of the posts. One thing that I want to do is, you see how we have these dates displayed? This is something that we're going to work through in the resource, and we're also going to be able to display the user's name by customizing the resource. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's head over to the posts resource. As you could see, it was basically displaying everything for us. So if we take a look at, before I forget to show you before we make our changes, we open up our inspect tools and head over to view, then open up our Nuxt. Then we scroll down a bit to the anonymous component. You'll see in the posts, once we open up all of the posts that are coming through, and we open up one of those posts, it's getting the body created at, ID, title, updated at, and user ID. And these are all of the things that come along with the posts, but we also need to attach the user to them. So that's, again, that's how we're going to set this up in the array. This is everything from the post model. So we're going to attach our user stuff in here. So now, instead of returning this parent, we can now do return and open up an array, put a semicolon at the end of that return. And here, we're going to list the ID, and we're going to say that equals this ID, meaning the post ID. Okay, the next thing is the title. So we're not returning everything. We're only returning some things, and we're going to customize it. This title, body, this body, user ID. And again, only use what you think you might need. I think I might need all of these, so I'm just going to use them. This user D. And now we get into the user information. So we'll have the user key, and then we're going to say it's equal to an array of different things. So name will be equals this user name, and that's what we're grabbing from the user model. Now under user, we're going to do, let me move this up a little bit so you can see it better, but we're going to do the created at key, and we're going to say this created at is equal to this created at, but we are going to be leveraging Carbon's diff humans. And I need a comma, and this needs to be created. And we'll also do the same for the updated at. Why don't we take a look and see how that's changed these dates for us? We'll refresh. Okay, so 48 minutes ago. And let's take a look at pages post index. And if we take a look at the posts, we can see everything that's being returned to us for the first one. So let me move this up. So not only do we have the body created at and everything for the post, but as you can see, we've also attached the user. And the only thing we need from the user is the username. Let's go ahead and make those fields visual in our index page. Go up top, and I believe it's here. So now we'll have a posted by, username, and that should be good. So posted by Anaya Bratke 48 minutes ago, and all of the other users that were in here. So the other thing I want to do too is not just display the users, but we can also change the order in which they show up. So I want to change this to latest. Since we just made them, they're all going to come up the same, so you won't really be able to see it here, but we have it set up to do that. Fantastic. Now let's get set up to start creating posts. We can close this, and we'll just drag this over for now and index. Okay, so in this post folder that we have in our client folder, we're going to create a new one, and we're just going to call it create.view, HTML, and then we'll just do h1. Create, we just want to make sure that the page is working. Add our script tags and our layout. App layout. Okay, so from our index page now, we have a link for that. So right up here, we can just do posts create, and that'll take us to that page. So let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, and we seem to have lost our post, so let's go ahead and see what the error is. API posts. Try the network tab. Posts. Mess up. Call to undefined method. Map into. So this error, I think I forgot to put. Okay, so at the end of, in our post controller, at the end of post latest, we also need to call get, and that should clear that up. Go back, refresh it. Okay, and now we got our post back. I'm gonna leave it on this one. We'll open up this one a bit. And now this should go to that post create page. Create, fantastic. So, let's head back over to the create page. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and paste in a bunch of code to save us some time. From top to bottom, it's just a div with a main section. We're going to have our form for submitting. We have our title. Our form is attached to the title with errors body, and a link to back to the post page for our cancel button, and then submit. So that means that under here, we need to do data, move this up. And then we're going to have form with a title, body, and we also need our errors. Okay, and then we're going to have a method section. where we're going to do an async submit, try catch, await this Axios host API hosts. We're going to go ahead and pass in the form. And then for our errors, we're going to say this errors equals error response data errors. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make that host route in our controller. So for that, we're going to be using the store function. Move this up. And then in here, we're just going to do auth user hosts because we already have that relationship defined. And then we're going to create semicolon, and then title equals request title, and body equals request body. And for the return, we don't really need to do much. We can just return response 200 just so that we get a good response if it's successful. We'll do validation in a bit. So now that's done. In our API file, we can do copy paste. This will be post and the method will be store. So let's give this a try and see if we can create one. Nuxt, avoid using non-string values as layout property. Okay, so that would be on the create page and app layout. Shouldn't be in an array. App layout. Okay, so the easy stuff first, let's make sure that our cancel button works and it takes us back to the post page like intended. Go back to the create post and now we'll say blah, 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 blah. I wonder if I can use form filler for that. Yeah, there we go. Much nicer. Submit. Okay, so we got a 200 back on the right. You can see here. Let's check our database and we'll change this to the latest so that we can see the top ones. So this is us with our user ID of 10. That's who we're logged in as. Miss Deanna Mitchell. So a couple of things. First, we want to clear this out, and then we actually want to redirect back to our post page. Now we can go this form reset, and then here we can just do this router replace. This is an experiment here. I'm not sure that this works in here, but we'll give it a try anyway, and if not, we'll have a different solution. So name is post. So that's what we wanted to redirect to, back to the post page. Okay, head back to the browser. Okay, we'll use form filler again. Submit. Data of undefined. We got a 200. Check the database. It probably is because of that form reset. Okay, so we have it. Let's go ahead and change this. This was just an attempt. This form title equals a string. This form body equals a string. And if neither of these work, it doesn't really matter. We'll just remove them, but we will return back to our posts page. Let's try it again. Okay, use form filler. Submit. Yeah, see, it went too fast anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'll just leave it there anyway. Now we have our new posts. So now let's work on the edit and delete. We can now close the create view. And from the index page, we are going to add a link for that post. Don't worry about this errors here. We'll deal with it in a bit. But for now, we'll just do for this Nuxt link 2. Okay, so we want to take it to the page. Now, in the back end, when we set it up, we're going to set it up with root model binding, which means that the model, the post model, we're going to grab the ID from there, we're going to inject it into the route, and that's what we're going to be using. So in order to do that in Nuxt, again, we have to do it slightly similar to how we did with the auth reset password. We need to do backticks, and then it's going to be posts, $, curly brackets. In here, we're going to have post ID because that's what we're looping over. And then after that, we're going to have edit. And that's going to be our route, posts ID edit. And then we need the colon here. In order to be able to make this work correctly in Nuxt, we need to, in this post folder, create another folder. And this one is just going to be named ID. Okay, so that'll let Nuxt know that we're looking for posts ID, and then in posts ID, we're going to have index.view, and that's going to be empty. We're also going to have another one in here for edit.view. Now, again, these are just little quirks in Nuxt. So if you want to know more about what these are, you should definitely take a look at some actual Nuxt courses and see why they're named this way. But the easiest way that I can explain it, as I said, is that we are going to be sort of nesting our routes in Nuxt in order to be able to call them correctly for our API. So posts ID is what we're injecting. ID is going to need index, which needs to be empty. Okay, we're just referencing ID. And then in the edit page is where we're going to do all the fun stuff. Okay, so let's open up edit. And in here, I am just going to start with some template tags. I'm going to paste in a bunch of code, and then I'm going to add our script tags. If we go up and take a look at what we're doing here, another div, another main. If you wanted to make another layout file for that, you could too. Sometimes I do that. But basically, we are going to be submitting a form, and the method is going to be called update post. We're going to have a section for our errors. We are going to be calling the post title and the post body so that it already populates into the form before we even get to it. Let's see. We have the body, we have the Nuxt. This is going back to the post page, just like it's the cancel button. So just like we did for the other one, and then our submit button. So for now down here, we're going to start off with our layout file, layout, app, layout. Then we're going to have our data section. And then we're going to say post, going to be an array. We can actually put object instead, and then errors. And these are going to be an array. And then we're going to have a mounted where we are going to populate our post. So the method is going to be this get post. And now we can go ahead and define that method here. So methods. And the first thing we're going to do is async get post. Remember, this is just to populate it. Then we're going to do a try catch. And then we're going to await this Axios get API posts slash, and then we're going to concatenate onto this route params ID, because we're going to be grabbing it right from the browser. And it's going to be then response equals this post equals response data. And then for the error, we just console log it out. Now for the update post, we'll do async update post, try catch, await this Axios catch the API posts, and then we're going to concatenate this route params ID, and we are also going to include this post. Then this errors equals error response data errors. First, let's make sure that we can get to this edit page, and then we will work on the routing for it. Okay, so if we just take the first one and click edit, okay, you can see up in the browser, it says post 53, which is the post ID and the edit. And so we were successful in doing that. But we also need to work on the actual controller and the routing in the back end. So for this one, we're going to do update. Well, actually, before that, we need to do show. We need to do show because our post is supposed to be populating in here, and we made a call to the API for it. Okay, so let's go. This is show. Now in here, all we need to do is return new post resource and then pass in the post. Let's go back and refresh and make sure that that went through. And actually, that doesn't even matter yet because we haven't even set up the route. So let's come over here and do that really quick. We can do copy, paste, and we'll do both of them at the same time while we're in here so I don't forget again. So this one will be get posts slash post, and it'll be show. The next one will be patch. And again, we're going to pass in the post. And this method will be update. So let's head back to the controller. Let's go and make sure that that works first. Refresh. Fantastic. We have our form now populated. So now we can finally go to the update function. Here we're going to do post update. Again, we still have to do validation as well, so we're just trying to get it to work first, and then we'll make all of the custom changes to it. Post update, and then we'll say title equals quest title, and body equals quest body, and then we'll return new post resource post. And this new, we're just creating a new instance of post resource. So that's why we put new in front of it versus up in the index when we are creating it as a collection. Okay, so that's what the difference is there. So let's go ahead and see if this works. Refresh. And now for the title, we'll just put updated. And for the body, we'll put updated. Submit. Okay, it looks like it went through. Okay, let's check the database. Updated and updated. Fantastic. We don't want to empty this one, but we do want to redirect. This I think I can close. So after our update post, we can do this router place name posts. Once it's sent, then it should return back to our index page. Okay, so now we'll just take off the E, submit. Okay, so we were redirected back to the post page. And now it just says update, update, and update. So now let's go ahead and work on the delete function. We can close this edit for now. And we are going to do this in our index page. So this is the posts index. Now the form, we're going to do @submit event equals delete post. Then we're also going to pass in the post ID. And then we're going to come down to our methods and we are going to do, just copy this one. Copy. Paste. Delete post. We're going to pass in the ID. This Axios, this will be delete. We're going to pass in the ID here as well, plus ID. We need a slash here. And then this we don't need to do, but we can call this get posts, and this will ensure that it updates in our page. Okay, so now this error equals error response data errors. And then for now, we'll just do console log errors here, or this errors, just temporarily. And then we're going to come up top and add that to our data properties. Errors is an empty array, comma. Okay, so now we need to put this function in our controller. In the destroy function, we're just going to say return post delete. Okay, and then in the API, we're going to copy and paste this. This will be delete, and then this update will turn into destroy. Let's go ahead and give this a try. So we'll refresh it, and then we'll go ahead and delete this one. Okay, and it's gone. We can delete the next one too. Gone. Why don't we go ahead and deal with validation first? So if we go to the post controller, and let's start with the first one, which is store. So this one's going to be pretty easy because any authenticated user can create a post. When each individual authenticated user has their own ID, that ID will be what's attached to the user ID for posts. So the only real validation we need to do is to check for the fields. So this validate, we'll add the request, and then we'll have an array. First one will be title, and we want this to be required. We want it to be a min of 5 characters, and then we want a max of 25 characters. This way we can control the size in our database. Sometimes some people put it in the migration table, but I think it's far better use of the controller to be able to control something like that. So I'll do it here. This one will also be required min 5, max 100. Okay, so then after it passes the validation, then it'll go ahead and create the posts. So now we can copy. The next one we need to work on is the update function. Now this one's going to be a little tricky. We're definitely going to need to validate for our fields. If you, as a side note, want to create, want to pull out this validate function that we have right in here, because we're duplicating it, you can always create a request, a form request, and then put those in there, and then you can get rid of another couple of lines of code. But since this is really a small demo, I'm not going to do it, but that is something else that you can do too. So the problem here is that when we update, the way it stands now, we can update absolutely any post, whether or not it's ours, and we should not have the control to be able to do that. So let me show you what I mean. If we come back and we refresh this, and we have posts here. So this is from us as an authenticated user. We just made this a little while ago, but this one does not belong to us. So if we go to edit, go ahead and try to update it, we shouldn't be able to. Okay, the body must not be greater. Let me take some of that out. Again, we still shouldn't be able to get that far. Okay, if you take a look, we updated it, it went through. Okay, everything went through for that update. We should not be able to have access to do that. So for this validation, we need to also add a check to make sure that the user is the authenticated user that belongs to this post. If auth user ID does not equal, remember, because you always want to check for the negative first. Well, at least I do. I just prefer doing it that way. I look for everything the most wrong first, and then gradually work our way to the most right. So post user ID, then we'll return response. Okay, since this is an ordinary Laravel error, we're going to create an errors. This error is going to have a key, because I want to customize this, equals. The new key we'll call auth, and then for our message, we'll say you do not have permission to edit this. We'll put a comma here, and then here. We'll make sure that it passes a 401 status code. Okay, so now we can do post update with the request title and everything, and then the post resource. So in this edit page now, we need to make sure that we have the correct error key to be displayed. So if we head over to our posts edit, we already have it in here, but if errors auth, okay, that's the key. And our errors array here, errors. So now let's try this. We'll refresh it. Okay, we'll go back to the same one that we just edited. We'll go to edit. Okay, and without even putting anything in, we'll just click submit. Okay, you do not have permission to edit this. So we have successfully cut that off. Let's make sure it still works for us, because we still have one post in here. Edit. Let's make sure this validation all works first. So submit. Okay, so we have the title field is required and the body field is required, and we'll just form filler. Submit. Cool, so now we have our new post, we have our new title, good to go. So now, we need to do the same thing for our destroy method. So let's copy this chunk in, paste it in here, auth user ID, blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. That should be good. Let's make sure in our index page that we have that. So I think this is the one. Okay, so it was commented out here. We have our errors property here. And then we have our errors here. So let's try to delete it. Okay, and so now if we try to delete this user, their post, errors not defined. Did I mistype that? I did. Errors. And we actually don't need this anymore. Error. This should be error. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this is the one. We'll go ahead and try to delete. Ah, you do not have permission to edit this. See, right up here. I'm sure I could have done a better job of displaying this, but here we are. So now let's try to delete ours. Delete. Okay, no fancy message, but we still have this. So why don't we try to, let's create a post. Keep forgetting I have form filler. I really like using that. Submit. And let me, this dot errors equals an empty array. Okay, so we'll go back. Okay, we'll try to delete this one. And it did not display. So I think instead of doing it like this, get rid of that. We can do this one again, this get posts. Try it and see. Go back. Try to delete another one. And now let's try this again. Still there. So do this. While that's doing that, get rid of this. Why don't we try this? This errors equals empty array. We'll try it in the, once it's successful. We'll make it pop up. Do not have permission. Now we try to delete ours. Ah, there we go. It's gone. And so is our post. Fantastic. So now, let's work on a little bit of code cleanup. We can now close, let me check this. I think this is all done. Yeah, we're all done in these controllers and pages and stuff. Since we used the API flag on the post controller and it gave us the post routes, a way to shorten up all of these routes, I'm just going to comment this out for now. Laravel has a grouping. So we can say route, API resource, and then since they're all using posts, they're prefixed by posts, we can say posts, and then post controller class. And then all of those routes should work the same. So let's check it out. Refresh. Okay, so already a good sign because this is one of the first routes. So this will be the post. This will be this get post route, the index function. Okay, so let's try to create. Cool. So form filler, submit. Okay, so that worked out. Edit, dated. Item must not be greater than 25. So that works. And delete. So, as you can see, this one line has replaced 5 different lines of code. Now, the other thing you can do is, if you have a bunch of different other resources, like let's say we wanted to use users and create a resource out of that, or we added more functionality and we had more controllers and more, you know, just more resources that we were going to use. Something you could also do is this. We're going to create an array. And let me move this down a line so you can see it better. Okay, and then we'll get rid of this comma, and it'll be equals arrow. And we're going to change this to resources. Okay, if you wanted to add more, so let's say we had one for users, we can just chain it onto this and add as many as we want. So user, controller, which of course we don't have, but again, just to explain. So that's what it would look like. Okay, but since we only have the one, we can just leave it at that. Let's, before we go and do that, let's head down to our posts. Actually, no, we need to go to our app layout, and we need to make sure that we have a route for this. So this will now be posts. Okay, so let's head back to the browser and see what we have. Okay, cool. So we are still getting our page. Let's try this one. And I'll just leave it at that. Just trust that it works. One thing that I did want to show you is, let's go ahead and get rid of these routes now. Okay, and this app layout, I believe we can close it now. Close that and close that. There's one more thing that I wanted to show you. So if we log out, okay, and we tried to go to /hosts, even though we are not logged in, we can actually still access this route. We can't get any of the information from it, but we can still access it. So let's lock those down too. Let's go down to our pages, and for our posts index, we can now implement our middlewares. So we're going to do middleware, and we have two of them. So one is going to be auth, one is going to be verified, comma. We're going to copy this one, and we're going to put one on our create page. And in our ID, we're going to go ahead and put it on our edit page as well. And I think we should have them all set up for all of our auth pages. I think the only one we needed was this one. Okay, we'll go ahead and add that there. Register, login, forgot password. And this should be good. So let's go ahead and reconnect our email verification. And let's try the whole thing from beginning to end and see if all of this stuff that we worked on today works. Okay, so we'll go back. We are going to head over to the registration page, and we are going to go to the application tab. Make sure to clear out all the cookies in here. Okay, we'll go ahead and register a new user, submit. Okay, we got our email verification sent. Let's go ahead and open up Mailtrap. Open up our demo inbox. Okay, we have a new user. Verify email, and I also need that email. So grab it from here. Okay, we'll go ahead and log in. Password. Okay, we're on our dashboard page. Go to our posts. Okay, now we see all the posts again. Go to our settings. Let's log out and try those. We'll try the posts and the settings and see what happens. So here we can just go to posts, and as intended, it set us back to our auth login page. So let's also try, what was the other one? Settings? No, this one is supposed to be two-factor authentication. Fantastic. Once again, sent back to the login page. So that about wraps it up. I will make sure to push all the code up to GitHub and leave the links down in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.